Hello, hello, and welcome to the Dr. Toomer Talks Show. I am Dr. Catherine Toomer. I am a family medicine and community health physician, and I specialize in metabolic weight management, or metabolic, really just metabolic disarrangement in any way. I do specialize also in things like diabetes and finding diabetes and treating diabetes. And for those of you who've heard me before, you know that I talk about how weight gain and weight management and diabetes are on the same continuum. And that's why so many diabetic medications work so well to help with weight loss. But we're not going to get into that today. But I do want to say that I do want to make an exciting announcement. So, as some of you may know, I have founded Total Weight Care. Um, sorry, Your Light Wellness and Weight Care physician group. We're a group of very dedicated physicians who take care of patients all throughout the United States in every state. And what we do is provide uh, very comprehensive and very kind weight care for those who have lost access to their medication for whatever reason. So it's telemedicine. We have partnered with a very reputable um, compound pharmacy for those of you, because many people have lost access to their brand. And one of the things that happened because of the FDA ban was that there was a slight, very short interruption in medication, but we do have medications back. They are safe. In the past, they've avoided compounds, but unfortunately, in this legal environment, that's the only way that they can provide the medication is by combining it with the vitamin, and therefore it becomes a supplement. Still safe, still effective. I wouldn't be using them with my family members if it weren't, but it is now available again, both tirzepatide oral options and injections, as well as semaglutide, which is the Wegovy version, for also oral and injections. And they also have hormones and a bunch of other things. But primarily, that's what people were asking for. And so that's what I wanted to announce. So if you're interested in getting help, I can connect you to a physician in your state. And I am putting the link in the chat right now. So all you have to do is fill out that form and we'll connect you to a doctor that can help you. So now that that's out of the way, again, I'm Dr. Catherine Toomer. And today I'm going to be talking about the 5 ways exercise does more harm than good. Now, overall, exercise does do well for our body. It is a healthy habit. It is something that our body loves. It is something that, when done correctly, does a lot of good. However, when incorrectly done or for incorrect reasons or done in ways that can cause more harm than good. And we never are told that. We're always just told exercise. No one evaluates and says what type of exercise is best for you. What is the best way for you to go about an exercise regimen so that it will benefit you more than anything rather than harm you. But if you know how harm can happen, then it's easy to avoid. Now, I've always said there are 3 types of people who give you information. There are those who have experience, who've had an experience, and therefore they have experiential expertise, and they tell you about what's happened with them, and therefore they can help inspire you, help give you hope. And so you often see people who have a lot of experience having gotten very healthy, have gotten very fit through exercise, and they often share that information, and that's wonderful. And then you have those who have an education on top of that, and they have knowledge beyond just their own experience. They have knowledge about why things are, why they work, why they don't, and they can also help guide you towards what works best for you. But when you have expertise, those are the people who prevent you from harming yourselves. So you can have experience, which gives you hope, You can have education, which gives you knowledge, and then you have expertise, which prevents harm. And so hopefully today, what you're going to get is my expertise based from around my education and my experiences. So, um, as also as an athlete myself, but also the former athlete, I should say, at 60 years old, I'm not as athletic as I used to be. But the other is as someone who's lost over 100 pounds and has kept it off for over 25 years. I've lost little bits at a time. But once I lose it, it doesn't come back. And so, and now the total has been somewhere around 110 pounds and with little fluctuations here and there. And so a lot of that information that you get is a combination of my experiences, my education as a physician, as well as my expertise of someone who has spent the last 20 years helping people with weight management. So when it comes to the 5 ways exercise does more harm than good, as always, when you listen to me, I always talk about biopsychosocial. Biopsychosocial means anytime that you're looking for a reason why and where a human is involved, there's biology, there's the psychology, and there's the sociology involved in why that happens. So I'm going to run through these relatively quickly because I try to keep this short and then also gives you an opportunity to ask questions at the end. First, I want to say hello to Cindy. Thank you for joining. And if you're listening, please tell me your name. Tell me where you're listening from. If you're watching later, put hashtag replay and let me know where you're listening from then. It's really nice to see all the different places where people listen. So when it comes to the biology of exercise, essentially what exercise can be, there's mainly 3 benefits that you want to get. Cardiovascular benefits, so strengthen your heart and your blood vessels. You want to improve your moods. And so which can happen from exercise. And then you also want to build your muscles. You want to become stronger. You want to become more flexible. You want your muscles to serve you so that you can stay strong. And the benefits of all of that is longevity. You live longer, but you live a better life, not just longer, but you live a life of independence because the stronger you are, the more flexible you are, the more able you are to keep your balance. Then when you're later on, when you get older, you're less in need of help that you can work independently, you can move independently, you can wash yourself. I can tell you as someone whose mother is 95 years old, who just turned 95 on the 17th of March, she still gets around. She can still get up, go to the bathroom, she can feed herself, she can wash herself. She, in the middle of the night, if she has to use the restroom, she can get up on her own and go. Imagine if she couldn't. It would require help. It would require people to help, assuming that she would have lived as long as she has, just simply because, when you are bedbound, chair-bound, and when you're not able to move on your own, you become more dependent, you tend to become sedentary. And when you become sedentary, as we now have been told, being sedentary is just as bad on your body as smoking. And therefore, I'm not saying don't exercise. You've got to move. We've got to do things. We've got to use our body in order to keep it strong. But there are some things that can do, when you're trying to do something good, you don't want to do more harm and not even realize it. And so biologically, the most important thing, the number one thing that is important to understand when it comes to exercise is to do whatever you're going to do at the level in which you are right now. Not where you were when you were a teenager, not where you were when you were a gymnast, not where you were when you were younger and running around the yard. You've got to meet yourself where you are. And so if you're someone who has not exercised, has not moved, has been sitting around for much of their life, much of their job, getting up and deciding you're going to run without walking first can be dangerous for a couple of reasons. One, you could have underlying organ issues like heart disease that you may or may not know about. And when you do that, when you jump into something that's beyond what your body's capable of really doing, at least doing so in a sustained way, what you do is you strain your organs. When you exercise, our body takes blood and shifts it to whatever place needs it during that activity. So it's called shunting. It will shunt blood to where. So if you are someone who has organs that may or may not be working at their fullest capacity, and you start using muscles that require blood, that require oxygen, it will pull that oxygen, pull that blood from those vital organs that are already compromised and make it worse. And so that's why it is so important to always start where you are most comfortable. It doesn't have to be strenuous. It just has to be continuous. So whatever you want to do, you should be able to do it continuously for at least 20 minutes. If you can't do it continuously for 20 minutes, then it's probably too much for you and you need to adjust. The other reason why this is so important is because when you exercise beyond your physical capabilities, your body thinks that you're under stress and strain. Your body thinks that you're being attacked by something. Your cortisol levels then go up. Our body can't tell the difference if we're running, if we're being chased by something that's trying to eat us, or if we're trying to exercise. So when people run, usually you hear about runner's high. That takes a long time of running to get to that point. That's not saying you can't get to that point, but you always want to start by walking first. If you haven't been someone who's been moving much, start with walking. Then start slowly getting into jogging and then into running. The other thing that happens if you jump too far too fast into an exercise program that's beyond your physical capabilities, you're more likely to get injured. And if you're injured, then you have to stop. And if you have to stop, then it defeats the whole purpose of starting in the first place. So always start at a level that is right for you. If you're not sure what that is, then get assessed. Most places have YMCAs that will sometimes have free assessments, fitness assessments. So it doesn't have to cost you anything. You can just simply go in and then ask for an assessment. The other is strain. Injury doesn't just mean you broke a bone or pulled a muscle. It could also mean that you stretched too far and it left injury to your tendons as well. And so the other is it can make, if you're someone who's not very hydrated and you try to exercise, it can actually create a situation where you're more tired. And it actually, again, it does more harm than good. So number one, always start where you should at your level. Do not start above. I know for many of us, especially anyone who's been an athlete at any point in their life, we're very competitive with ourselves. And our first thought is you want to push yourself as hard as you can. That can actually cause a problem. So that's biology, psychology of the biopsychosocial. So psychologically, if we do something and we're not able to complete it, or we're not able to do it at a level that we'd like or that we can sustain, it actually creates a sense of failure, even though you haven't failed. And if you have that sense of failure, you're less likely to then start it up again if you stopped. So you want to do things that doesn't have to be hard. I know you hear all the time, no pain, no gain. That is not true. What you do can be light and easy at first, and then you build from there. So psychologically, you don't want to jump all in and then feel like a failure. One, because that also causes a lot of negative self-talk. Negative self-talk, as I've talked about before, raises your cortisol just like you're being bullied by somebody else. In fact, our bodies cannot tell the difference when we're being bullied by ourselves or being bullied by somebody else. So putting yourself in a situation where you start criticizing yourself heavily is not psychologically healthy. So better to pull back and have good things to say about yourself. Wow, this was easy. I can do this. Rather than this is hard and I can't. But, and so the best way to counter that, though, is to, instead of stopping, you just adjust what you're doing. If you find that what you're doing is pulling you down, then what you can do is lighten up what you're doing so that you lighten up how you're feeling about yourself. Before I continue, I'm just going to say hello to everyone. Hello, Sharon. Hello, Lynn. Hello, Marcia. Hello, Denise. Don't worry. um, you can always watch the replay, and I'm going to run through all the points again at the end. And then we can always, everyone has questions. Get your questions ready because I will answer them. And so, number one was meet yourself where you are. Number two is don't jump too far and too fast because it can cause psychological issues in that it makes you feel like a failure. And the negative self talk actually can have physical ramifications as well because of what it does to your cortisol levels. But number three, the biggest harm of the psychological part of exercise is not using the exercise to counter what is harming or what is harming the person or harming you or me, essentially negatively. It's having a negative impact on our life. So let me explain. I have chronic depression. Anyone who knows me, I'm not shy about it. Mental illness is not anything to be ashamed about. The more we talk about it, the less stigma it has. There are certain exercises that actually make it worse. There are exercises that actually make it better. So for me, the best type of exercise, and for most people who need to lift their moods in some way to get endorphins, which is what our mood lifters are, is sustained low impact exercise. Anything that makes you huff and puff really hard, that makes it hard for you to catch your breath, is more than likely not the best exercise for you psychologically. Because one, it raises your cortisol, and our brain doesn't like cortisol. It raises your blood sugar. Our brain does not like blood sugar when it comes to mood stabilization. And so low impact, sustained exercise that makes you feel good about yourself is the best mood stabilizer. So walking is a good one. Pilates is another one. Yoga is a good one as well. Because all of those things help you use your muscle, but they also allow you it create a form of meditation, and so which is also psychologically very beneficial. And I hope you can see me. I'm starting to see a bit of a delay. I hope my Wi-Fi is not weak and not kicking, but it's not telling me it is. But for some reason, my video, I guess, is slow. It's kind of off. Um, so Um, so that was 3. So number 1, I wrote things down because I wanted to make sure that I didn't forget anything. So number 1 was meeting yourself where you are, exercising at your level. Number 2, um, giving up, um, making sure that you do something in a way that you can do and sustain it so you don't give up. Because when you do, you start feeling like a failure. Negative self-talk actually defeats the whole purpose. And so you want to do exercise that you can sustain and maintain so that it helps elevate your mood. And then number 3 is not using exercise as medication. You can use it to help counter mood issues, and you can help to stabilize your mood. And so really heavy cardiovascular exercise sometimes can, if you can sustain it, it can raise your mood, but more than likely low impact sustained exercise is really what does that. And Marcia, I see your question, and I'll get right back. I'll get back to you in just a moment. So biopsychosocial, we got the biology, we talked about the psychology. Now we're going to talk about the social. The social part of exercise. If you're someone who needs accountability and who then having a social group to exercise with is great. But if you're someone who is very competitive and you put yourself in a situation where everyone around you is more advanced than what you are and what you're doing, all that will do is it will counter the physical benefits by creating a psychological downfall. So when choosing the type of exercise that works best for you, first the biology we talked about, making sure that it is at your physical level, you're starting at your physical level. That number 2, it is psychologically beneficial for you by being able to sustain it long enough so that your body can produce hormones that help improve your mood. And then, but socially, what you want to do is put yourself in situations where you give yourself what you need. Do you need solitude? Then you're probably not someone who should take a class to exercise. If you're someone who's lonely, then a class may work best for you. Putting yourself in situations where the social impact of that activity can help provide you something that you need. And so, again, if you're competitive, you probably don't want to be at a level 1 and put yourself in a level 5 class, for example. Or have, if it's a sport of some kind like pickleball or tennis or something else, play against people who've been playing for years and years and you're just a beginner. Um, so, the other is so when you use exercise socially, it can help with accountability and it can help prevent isolation, unless solitude is what you're seeking. And then you do solitary activities. But the other thing you don't want to happen with exercise is for it to create social issues with your family, conflict with family, with friends, with yourself, with other people that you are exercising with. Essentially, if you create a situation where exercise is a huge chore, you're more likely to give it up. If you are in an activity where people around you are constantly harping on the activity that you're doing, not being available, not be, trying to find balance is always really important. And so again, biopsychosocial, biologically, you want to make sure the exercise is at your level. Number 2, psychologically, you want to make sure that it benefits you psychologically and doesn't do the opposite by starting too far, too fast, feeling like a failure, or choosing exercise that actually makes any diagnosis that you have worse, when there are exercises that can actually make your diagnoses better. Number 4, the social. You want to use exercise as a way of enhancing your social needs, either because you like to be alone, so you do solitary activities, or you need the accountability and you're feeling lonely and you don't want to be isolated, so you choose classes. But always fit that into the others that were mentioned. And then the 5th is always make sure that whatever you do, it does not disrupt the people's lives around you so that they aren't going to sabotage your efforts, because that's essentially what people do when you're doing something that causes them conflict. They'll often sabotage you. Now, sometimes it could be that um, they are part of the management, especially if they're toxic people, but I'll let you figure that out. So, hey, Cubs, how are you? Hi, Kiana. Um, so, Marcia, you asked about trampoline. It really just depends on your health level. If you're jumping on a trampoline and you've not done a lot of cardiovascular exercise in the past, or you're starting off, then how much you jump can make a difference. If you're talking about the, backyard trampoline, it can actually, I wouldn't do it for exercise. You can do it for fun, but it's probably not good exercise. Now, if you do it on the rebounder type trampoline, the little ones that you kind of do exercises on, you can do that as long as it's not way beyond what your physical capabilities are. Elizabeth asked, "What would I recommend to a mother of young kids for exercise? I work from home, but I find that the time when kids are asleep, I'm exhausted." Include them. Children love yoga. They love classes. So if you can get something on a screen that they can all sort of do with you, either they learn how to do squats, they're doing 'cause honestly, the best head to toe body toning is push-up, squats, planks. You can let children join in because what you can do is 30 seconds of each exercise, as many if you can get in with good form. Then you rest for 30 seconds and then you do it again. And so that's a minute and 30 seconds of exercise. Then you can do the same thing with planks. Then you can do the same thing with squats. Start push up, plank, squats. If you have older children, you teach them how to use a stopwatch. They tell you when to start, when to stop. If you have younger children, have them join in and do it with you. If you have small children that sleep a lot, then what you can do is either put them in a place where you can see them and do the exercise, or do exercises that are concentrated and quick, like I said, squats, planks, push-ups. But yeah, with small children, and then understand that everybody has a phase of their life. And sometimes the phase of our life when we have small children, it's challenging. And just know that as they get older, as they start school, if you're not homeschooling, then you can, you do what you can when you can. But when it comes to children, you try to include them. Children love to be coaches of their parents when they exercise. Especially, I mean, they love it. When you make them your accountability partners, man, children will not let you not do something. If you tell them what your intentions are and you tell them that you need their help to make sure it happens, they will make sure it happens. You just have to give them the instructions. So, Elizabeth, I hope that helped. And I know it sounds very woo, utopic, but if you can do that most times of the week, then that's better than nothing, or most days of the week. Mark says, so children seem to be like a part of an exercise group. So much fun. Yeah, children are sponges. They'll just do whatever you allow them to. And they like movement. They like doing stuff with their parents. So if you tell them you need your help, they will help you in whatever ways you need them to. And there are going to be those days where you're just not going to be able to, because either they're sick, they're crying, they're whining, nothing lines up in the way that you want it to line up. And then you just accept things for how they are. And then just like, okay, well, I'll do the best I can in this situation and just do something different when I can do better. And that's the main thing, giving yourself grace. When you've got small children, you have got to give yourself grace all the time. Because as we know, small children don't let us be great at anything except probably fatigue. So, any other questions? So just know that you can write to me at help@drtoomer.com. Make sure you put in the subject what you're writing about, because sometimes they get lost and I get a lot of spam, a lot of solicitation. So you've got to kind of let me know it's you and why, what you want. So it is help@drtoomer.com. And you can write to me there with questions, with suggestions for topics to talk about. And then also make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm trying to get to 1,000 and I'm almost there. So if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please subscribe so I know I'm not one to beg normally, but I would love to get to 1,000 followers so that I can there's other things that YouTube will allow you to do when you have 1,000 subscribers, and so I'm very close. I think I'm 918 right now, so close. All right. Um, if you don't have any more questions, I like to try and keep this short. We've been going for about 30 minutes, and I know 9 so close, Sandra. Um, so if you have questions right now, hurry up and get them in because I'm about to say bye. Otherwise, you can also comment below the videos because I do see those. I get the notifications and I do answer. So, all right. Well, if you have no questions, I will see you next Tuesday at the Dr. Tumor Talks. And thank you so much for coming. And I will see you again next Tuesday. Uh-oh. For some reason. Oh. Mm.